Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
We are really honored that we're joined by so many ministers tonight, and I hear that some more will be joining us shortly. We also have a very special message coming all the way from Canada. Unfortunately, he couldn't join us here today, but he has sent us a message. Here's the message by Mr. James Gordon Carr, Minister of Natural Resources, Canada.
Last September, I was honored to be the first minister from our government to visit India. During that trip, I met with Minister Pradhan, Minister Goyal, Minister Singh, and Secretary Basu to discuss the incredible opportunities for India and Canada to work together in developing India's resources. Like Canada, India is a country ambitious in spirit, rich in resources, and responsible in how we develop them. By sharing expertise, there's little we cannot do. It's time for India and Canada to take the next step and translate the bonds of friendship into the connections of commerce. And this conclave provides the ideal forum for doing just that. I'm delighted that you'll hold a session focused on Canada. There will be a terrific Canadian contingent there, and I know they're looking forward to meeting with you. I wish you every success.
And now I'll request Dr. Mahesh Sharma to please take the other podium and deliver the keynote address.
When God created human being, thinking that being my best creation in this universe, this will make a judicious use of the natural resources for a win-win situation of making the natural resources beneficial to the humanity. We feel proud and privileged that yes, we have 73% of Himalayas with us. We have 7,500 kilometers of the coastal belt with us. We have the deserts of Rajasthan. We have the snow of Kullu, Manali and Uttarakhand. We have River Ganga with us. And what to talk of when we talk of the natural resources, we are a rich country. When we talk of 7,500 kilometers of our coastal belt, and the cruise tourism shares only 0.25% of our tourism, we are lagging behind. We need to learn from the European world. We are making our efforts to making use of our natural resources, be it the coastal belt, be it the 73% of the Himalayas, where adventure tourism to snow tourism, it has a potential. Now the question is, how judiciously we can use these natural resources towards upliftment and growth of this country. We are a Team India now in front of you. And with this Team India and with a leader, and I can see the lot of faces which has come from the different part of the world. We are here to learn from you in some of the places, but we have so many things to give back to this world and to this humanity. Thank you very much, Network 18 team, for making us discuss on this issue and making this fruitful, not only for this country of ours, making it fruitful for the humanity and the world diaspora also. Thank you very much.
यहाँ सब लोग एक बात से एग्री करेंगे और खुद राजीव जी भी एग्री करेंगे कि आज़ादी के बाद से एक नारा दिया गया था, हर हाथ को रोजगार, लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री जी ने नारा दिया है हर रोजगार को हाथ, और वो कैसे मिलेगा वो राजीव जी हमें बताएंगे. राजीव जी.
Please welcome Rajeev Pratap Rudy, Minister of State, Independent Charge for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship.
I come from a state called Bihar, which erstwhile was with the state of Jharkhand. And possibly it is said that the state of Jharkhand, in that small area, has the largest presence and the maximum variety of mineral wealth found in a small geographical location in the world is in the state of Jharkhand. The variety, right from uranium to bauxite to iron ore, talk of the mineral, and it is there in the state. The oldest industrial establishment which was created in this country was Tata Nagar in Jamshedpur. Jamshedji Tata chose that place in Jharkhand to set up. And one of the first vehicle plants, the Tata trucks, came up to be set up, that factory was set up in Jamshedpur, now called Tata Nagar. But trucks were being manufactured in the state of Jharkhand and Bihar. But for last 21 years, these two states, the total population would be around about good 10 crore people in this, about 100 million people staying there. For last 21 years, the state which used to manufacture trucks did not produce a single heavy vehicle driver in last 21 years. Can it be believed? It did not happen because we created an infrastructure of manufacturing, but simultaneously we did not create an infrastructure for training those who had to operate these trucks. The whole idea of skills which is being discussed today is when the Prime Minister talks about 2022, this is an aspect which we are moving because the challenge of looking into training the unorganized workforce, which is around 450 million, is almost an impossible task to begin with. But when we talk about it, we have started. We have taken a step forward. I'm sure in times to come, with the huge investments coming in, the industry demand being created, and how we are moving today, we would be able to create a benchmark for skilling. And of course, our partnership with many, I have. When I talked to the South Australian Prime Minister, she was visiting here with a population of around 1.2 million people. There are far number of job roles than we have collectively at the national level in India. So there are a lot of challenges which but we have been able to create the National Skills Qualification Framework, the QPs and the NOSes for training, because everything has to be put in a benchmark. And that definition has been drawn under the Ministry of Skill Development. But I'm sure in times to come, we would understand what is skilling. I'm sure the industry has been understanding it, but there has been always a demand of skilled manpower, and this is what my ministry is doing. I'm sure in times to come, with the partnership of the industry, we have taken a very strong stance now, and we are building up this mechanism. Thank you very much, Network 18, for inviting us to be here on the forum, and I'm sure with the forthcoming visit of the Australian Prime Minister, this is going to be a very important part of it. Thank you very much.
The idea really of having all of our ministers here tonight is to have a collaborative dialogue, and that's what the Global Natural Resources Conclave is all about. So now I'd like to request Colonel Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore, Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting, to please take the podium. He's an Olympic silver medalist, a former professional shooter, and an ex-Indian Army officer turned politician.
So when you speak about natural resources and how we can harness the natural resources for a country like India, there's always complexities and the magnitude. You really have to broaden your visualization when you have to think of India. And I'm reminded of a quote by Mark Twain a long time back when perhaps came to India. He said, India is the cradle of human race. It's the birthplace of human speech. This is the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great-grandmother of tradition. Now, India certainly is the world's greatest experiment in terms of sustainability and resilience. Just think of it. 17% of the world's population living in only 2.4% of land mass with only 4% of water. Now that creates stress on people, on environment, on resources. Just for example, the last year of the previous government, the production of coal was just 2%. But in the last 2 years itself, the production of coal has been 8%. Now, the higher the production of coal, the higher the speed of production of coal, the higher is going to be the manufacture, the production of electricity. The higher the production of electricity, obviously there's going to be more manufacturing. It's all a cycle. And therefore, to bring all this together, to create a cycle wherein there is economic stability and development is the main purpose of this government. The intentions were very clear from the day this government came in. We know that we have to maximize consumption of resources. Now, I know that a large number of all of you are already working in our country, in various areas, various stages of development of all the natural resources. But I can very simply put it across that this government is a two-way communication. I think that one of the best things this government has done is to create a dialogue with various levels of people, including businessmen, including societies, including local communities. And when we talk to each other, that's how we find the solution. And I can simply say that this time it's going to be ab ki baar vikas lagatar. It's going to be development, continuous and sustainable. Thank you so much.
हमारे बीच मानव संसाधन विकास मंत्री श्री प्रकाश जावड़ेकर मौजूद हैं। बहुत स्वागत है सर आपका।
Yes, we've been joined by our Union Minister for Human Resource Development, Mr. Prakash Javadekar. Welcome, sir. We welcome you to the Global Natural Resources Conclave by Network 18 and CII. And if I may please request you to take the podium and deliver the special address.
India is in a typical position. And let me at the outset say, whatever the changes in power equations in various countries and particularly developed countries have happened, India will walk the talk on its optimum utilization of natural resources in a sustainable manner, and we will stick to our goals despite many countries trickling away and allowing now coal-fired power stations also. India is the only country which is charging coal production and taxing coal production, putting on in a way carbon tax of 400 rupees per ton, nearly $6.5. It has never done. When I announced this, I announced this on international forum, UN Ban Ki-moon was asking me how it was possible. Nobody opposed it. It is not possible in America and in Europe and everywhere. Nobody can tax that much. But we taxed, and I said, we are happy that though we have 36 parties in parliament, still this taxation was welcomed by one and everybody, because that is the commitment of Indian ethos, which gives that space for really sustainable actions. And now we have 54,000 crore rupees collected through this cess on coal, and that we are utilizing for clean energy. So that's an additional. So this is already we are walking the talk. Solar, when Prime Minister declared 1 lakh megawatt, 100 gigawatt, people never believed. But that one announcement of 100 gigawatt of solar power gave India a space in the World Committee, and we became the leaders in the whole climate change talks. This new sensitivity to be built around optimum utilization of natural resources can be done by curriculum changes, revising the curriculum, and through education. And I'm very sure I can go on and tell you many things, but in every sustainability options, there are business opportunities. We must grab them. We must catch them. And when we catch them, we grow exponentially on sustainability front as well as on business front. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you very much, sir. And now we'd like to invite Dr. Jitendra Singh, Minister of State for Development of the Northeastern region, to please deliver the keynote address. And let me inform all our foreign delegates that India's northeastern states have rich reserves of crude oil and natural gas. And in fact, about 15% of India's crude oil output comes from Assam. Sir, please.
When you look at the subject per se that you've been referring to, I think the basic question that confronts most of us, all of us in fact, and more so in a country like this is, what are our resources? That's the first question. Are we aware of the quantity and the quality of resources that are at our disposal in this country? B, are we utilizing them to the best and the optimal utilization, and see, are we making sure that our resources don't go waste? If you look at Northeast, because that is what was said about me, and then I have to complete my task by making a small reference to that too. Often it is said, India needs to learn, the rest of the India needs to know more about the North. We need to bring Northeast closer to the mainstream India, so-called mainstream India. Or the Northeast needs to be more familiarized with the rest of India. But I always put it other way. It is India, the rest of India, which needs to learn more from Northeast. We have resources rich in waterways, in minerals, in power generation, also in the human resource. Unfortunately, we are not looking around much because we were not taught to do so. We came from a feudal society. We were conditioned to centuries and centuries of subjugation, sometimes monarchies, and we were conditioned, consciously or unconsciously, to remain oblivious of our resources, so that our resources could be of benefit to the rulers who had traveled from far and wide to make us their subjects. India today is in a position to walk shoulder to shoulder with any other partner, with any part of the world, without any complexes and without any sense of being insecure, because we have that kind of potential. And not only that, I think day is not very far, maybe even in a year or so, we are going to be the greatest resource pool of youth energy and youth potential for the rest of the world. And therefore, this is perhaps, as was being said about the startup and other things, going to be one of the favorite destinations for the world over, and we are possibly going through one of the best times, because the world now realizes that this is the nation with which we have to do business in the years to come. And that itself is an evidence enough of our resourcefulness and our growing ability to put our resources to the optimum utility. Thank you very much, and thanks for making me a part of this.
And ladies and gentlemen, we've just been joined by Suresh Prabhu, Union Minister for Railways. He has in earlier stints, of course, held portfolios of industry, environment and forests and power, amongst others. So let's welcome Suresh Prabhu, Union Minister of Railways. Sir, if I may please request you to deliver the special address.
I think anywhere in the world, we always wonder what really causes economic growth. In fact, if you have to leverage either the natural resources or human resources, and a third element of growth that is necessary, which is capital, which can flow from any part of the world to the other part of the world. The leveraging of natural resource with human capital will cause even a higher rate of growth. India is uniquely poised with a lot of natural resources as well as human capital to harness that. And I think therefore it's a great opportunity for India to really grow on a high trajectory of growth by using natural resources in a proper manner. And therefore it's very appropriate that you are organizing it at a time when we are already growing at about one of the highest, fastest growing economy of this size, and we could even grow higher if you can actually harness our natural resources in a proper manner. I think we can just imagine, as it is, the world is struggling to find out a solution to provide jobs to this growing population. One of the great job provider, and people underestimate it, is arising out of the natural resource management. The transportation sector, even the railways, take railways for example, 2/3 of the revenue come from transportation, the freight. And bulk of the freight that we handle is natural resources. Just imagine the job creation coming out of this entire value chain. So virtually, the entire manufacturing in the world will be dependent on some natural resource. So ultimately, we should now try to put our heads together to find out what are the best practices we can use globally. How can we set those global standards which will be used all over the world so that natural resource management becomes a good possible activity which will sustain economic growth all over the world. And for that, I think we really need to create global platforms. We realize that we need pre-mining best practices. We need, during the mining, best practices. And we also need best practices post-mining. Because we have seen so many cases in which the abandoned mines could be again a possibility for rejuvenation of natural resources. Climate change is something which is a reality. Some countries and some people may not agree with it, but it's a reality. But to deal with climate change, preventing economic activity is not a solution. Managing economic activity in a way that will bring down the emission to a great level. Adaptation to climate change is another important aspect. And for that, even plantation and creating carbon sinks is also one thing that we can work on. So abandoned mines can also be used in a way to actually absorb carbons that are emitted into the air. And therefore, I really wish you all the best. Thank you very much. And again, thanking my good friends for inviting me here to address all of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prabhu. And let's have a round of applause for all the policymakers who joined us tonight. You don't often get to hear from 6 ministers holding diverse portfolios on the same platform. So thank you very much from Network 18 and CII. Thank you for really lifting the stature of the Global Natural Resources Conclave.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.